So will I never be, so may you miss me. But if you do, you will make me wish a sin that I had been forsown. BACHELOR your eyes. They have overlooked me and divided me. How all the other passions flee to air, as doubtful thoughts and rash embrace to despair. Graciano, I thank your lordship, you have got me one. My eyes, my lord, can look as swift as yours. You saw the mistress, I beheld the maid. Hello everyone, myself B. Shobarani, faculty in English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Once again, heartily welcome you to my session 18 of Unit 1 for 3rd Sem BCom English students, that is the play The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. In the previous session, let us have a recap as what did I explain in my previous session. I explained about Act 3, Scene 1, which takes place in a street in Venice, as well as the summary of the same Act 3, Scene 1. Let me explain once again Act 3, Scene 2 in today's session, that is a room in Portia's house in Belmont. So what exactly was the conversation happening in this particular Act 3, Scene 2 that takes place in a room in Portia's house in Belmont? The summary of it I'll be explaining. Moving on to Act 3, Scene 2, that is a room in Portia's house, Belmont. Enter Bassanio, Portia, Graciano, Nerissa and attendants. You can see in this picture, beautiful picture, Bassanio. Portia says, I pray you, tarry, pause a day or two, before you hazard, for in choosing wrong, I lose your company, therefore forbear a while. There's something tells me, but it is not love. I would not lose you, and you know yourself. Hate counsels not in such a quality, but lest you should not understand me well. Yet a maiden hath no tongue but thought. I would detain you here some month or two, before you venture for me. I could teach you how to choose right, but I am then forsown. So Portia says, I pray you, tarry, pause a day or two, before you hazard, for in choosing wrong, I lose your company, therefore forbear a while. There's something tells me, but it is not love. I would not lose you, and you know yourself. Hate counsels not in such a quality, but lest you should not understand me well. And yet a maiden hath no tongue, but thought, I would detain you here some month or two. Before you venture for me, I could teach you how to choose right, but I am then forsown. So will I never be, so may you miss me. But if you do, you will make me wish a sin that I had been forsown. BACHELOR your eyes. They have overlooked me and divided me. One half of me is yours, the other half yours. Mine own, I would say, but if mine, then yours, and so all yours. Oh, these naughty times! Put bars between the owners and their rights, and so though yours, not yours, prove it so. Let fortune go to hell for it, not I. I speak too long, but it is to peace the time, to take it and to draw it out in length, to stay you from election. Then Bassanio answers, let me choose, for as I am, I live upon the rack. You can see in the picture, beautiful picture of Portia and Bassanio. So Portia says, upon the rack, Bassanio, then confess what treason there is mingled with your love. Bassanio, none but that ugly treason of mistrust, which makes me fear the enjoying of my love. There may as well be amity and life, between snow and fire as treason and my love. So Bassanio says, let me choose, for as I am, I live upon the rack. Portia answers, upon the rack, Bassanio, then confess what treason there is mingled with your love. Bassanio, none but that ugly treason of mistrust, which makes me fear the enjoying of my love. There may as well be amity and life, between snow and fire as treason and my love. Portia, but I fear you speak upon the rack, where men enforced to do speak anything. Bassanio, promise me life, and I'll confess the truth. Portia, well then, confess and live. Bassanio, confess and love had been the very sum of my confession. O happy torment, when my torturer doth teach me answers for deliverance. But let me to my fortune and the caskets. Then Portia, Away then, I am locked in one of them. If you do love me, you will find me out. Nerissa and the rest stand all aloof. So Portia says, away then I am locked in one of them. Means she says like in one of the caskets there is a portrait of hers. So away then I'm locked in one of them. If you do love me, you will find me out. So if you really truly love me, then you're going to find my portrait in one of the caskets. So Bassanio is also one of the suitor who comes to try his fortune in the casket contest. So away then I'm locked in one of them. If you do love me, you will find me out. Nerissa and the rest stand all aloof. Let music sound while he doth make his choice. Then if he lose, he makes a swan-like end, fading in music that the comparison may stand more proper. My eye shall be the stream, and watery death bed for him. He may win, and what is music then? Then music is even as the flourish when true subjects bow to a new crowned monarch, such it. As are those delicate sounds in break of a day that creep into the dreaming by bridegroom's ear and summon him to marriage. Now he goes with no less presence, but with much more love than young Alcides when he did redeem the virgin tribute paid by howling Troy to the sea monster. I stand for sacrifice, the rest aloof are the Dardanian wives. With bleared visages, come forth to view the issue of the exploit. Go, Hercules, live thou, I live, with much, much more dismay. I view the fight than thou that masked the fray. You know, I'm going to explain the whole summary of the conversation that's happening. Then song comes there. Tell me where is fancy bred, or in the heart or in the head, how begot, how nourished, reply, reply. It is engendered in the eyes, with gazing fed and fancy dies, in the cradle where it lies. Let us all ring fancy's knell. I'll begin it ding dong bell. All ding dong bell this. So this is the song that has been played there. Bassanio. So may the outward shows be least themselves, the world is still deceived with ornament. In law, what plea so tainted and corrupt, but being seasoned with a gracious voice, obscures the show of evil in religion? What damned error, but some sober bro, will bless it and approve it with a text, hiding the grossness with fair ornament? There is no vice so simple but assumes some mark of virtue on his outward parts. How many cowards, whose hearts are all as false as stays of sand, were yet upon their chins the beards of Hercules and frowning Mars, who inward searched have livers white as milk, and these assume but valor's excrement. To render them redoubted, look on beauty. And you shall see this purchased by the weight, which therein works a miracle in nature, making them lighters that wear most of it, so are those crisped, snaky golden locks, which make such wanton gambols with the wind, upon suppose fairness upon known to be the dowry of a second head. The skull that bred them in the sepulchre, thus ornament is but the gilt shore. To a most dangerous sea, the beauteous scarf, veiling an Indian beauty, in a word, the seeming truth which cunning times put on to entrap the wisest. Therefore, thou gaudy gold, hard foot for Midas, I will none of thee, nor none of thee, thou pale and common drudge, between man and man, but thou meagre lead, which rather threatened than thou's promise ought. Thy paleness moves me more than eloquence, and here choose I joy be the consequence. Then Portia says, how all the other passions flee to air, as doubtful thoughts and rash embraced despair, and shuddering fear and green eyed jealousy. O love, be moderate, allay thy ecstasy. In measure reign thy joy, scan this excise. I feel too much, thy blessing make it less, or fear I surfeit. Because now Portia is very much afraid whether Bassanio will fail in selecting the right casket which contained the picture of Portia, so much so that he will miss out marrying Portia. Bassanio. What find I here? So opening the leaden casket. So now Bassanio selects the lead casket. So opening the leaden casket, fair Portia's counterfeit What demigod hath come so near creation? Move these eyes, or whether, riding on the balls of mine, seem they in motion. Here are severed lips, parted with sugar breath. So sweet a bar should sunder such sweet friends here in her hairs. The painter plays the spider and hath woven a golden mesh to entrap the hearts of men, faster than gnats in cobwebs. But our eyes, how could he see to do them? Having made one, methinks it should have power to steal both his and leave itself unfurnished. Yet look how far the substance of my praise doth wrong this shadow. In underprizing it, so far the shadow doth limp behind the substance. Here's the scroll, the continent and summary of my fortune. So, what was written on the scroll? You that choose not by the view, chance as fair and choose as true. Since this fortune falls to you, be content and seek no new. If you will be well pleased with this, and hold your fortune for your bliss, turn you where your lady is, and claim her with a loving kiss. So it was in this lead casket, the portrait of Portia was there. So a gentle scroll, fair lady, by your leave, kissing her, I come by note to give and to receive, like one of two contending in a prize, that thinks he hath done well in people's eyes. Hearing applause and universal shout, giddy in spirit, still gazing in a doubt, whether these pearls of praise be his or no, so thrice fair lady, stand I even so, as doubtful whether what I see be true, until confirmed, signed, ratified by you. Then Portia says, you see me, Lord Bassanio, where I stand, such as I am, though for myself alone I would not be ambitious in my wish. To wish myself much better, yet for you I would be troubled 20 times myself, 1,000 times more fair, 10,000 times more rich, that only to stand high in your account, I might in virtue, beauties, livings, friends, exceed account, but the full sum of me is sum of something which to term in gross is an unlessoned girl, unschooled, then unpracticed, happy in this she is not yet so old. But she may learn, happier than this. She is not bred so dull, but she can learn, commits itself to yours to be directed, as from her lord, her governor, her king, myself and what is mine to you and yours, is now converted, but now I was the lord of this fair mansion, master of my servants, Queen Oma myself, and even now, but now, this house, these servants, and this same myself are yours, my lord. I give them with this ring, which when you part from, lose or give away, let it presage the ruin of your love, and be my vantage to exclaim on you. This is a very important conversation, because when Bassanio wins her hand in marriage, so when he gives the wedding ring for her, so there is a promise made by Portia that he should keep the ring forever without losing it. So this particular instance is very important, when particularly when we talk about the trial scene where Portia, who is disguised as a man of law, asks for the wedding ring from Bassanio, and Bassanio, thinking that Portia is a man, gives away the wedding ring. So that particular instance is very, very important. Bassanio, Madam, you have bereft me of all words. Only my blood speaks to you in my veins, and there is such confusion in my powers. As after some oration fairly spoke, by a beloved prince, there doth appear among the buzzing pleased multitude, where every something being blent together turns to a wild of nothing save of joy, expressed and not expressed. But when this ring parts from this finger, then parts life from hence. Oh, then be bold to say Bassanio's dead. Nerissa, my lord and lady, it is now our time that have stood by and seen our wishes prosper, to cry good joy, my lord and lady. Graciano, my lord Bassanio and my gentle lady, I wish you all the joy that you can wish, for I am sure you can wish none from me. And when your honors mean to solemnize the bargain of your faith, I do beseech you. Even at that time, I may be married too. So, even Graciano, who later marries Nerissa, the maid of Portia, says that, my lord Bassanio and my gentle lady, I wish you all the joy that you can wish, for I am sure you can wish none from me. And when your honors mean to solemnize, when their marriage is getting solemnized, the bargain of your faith, I do beseech you, even at that time I may be married too. Because he was loving Nerissa, Bassanio. With all my heart, so thou canst get a wife. So he says, okay, Bassanio says, with all my heart, so thou canst get a wife. You can see all the three here, Gratiano, Portia and Bassanio. Gratiano, I thank your lordship, you have got me one. My eyes, my lord, can look as swift as yours. You saw the mistress, I beheld the maid. So he says, I beheld the maid. You loved the mistress, I loved the maid. You loved, I loved for intermission. No more pertains to me, my lord, than you. Your fortune stood upon the casket there, so did mine too, so as the matter falls. For wooing here until I sweat again, and sweating until my very roof was dry. With oaths of love at last, if promise last, I got a promise of this fair one here, to have her love, provided that your fortune achieved her mistress. Then Portia says, is this true, Nerissa? Nerissa, madam, it is so, you stand pleased withal. Bassanio, and do you, Gratiano, mean good faith? Then Gratiano, yes, faith, my lord. Bassanio, our feast shall be much honored in your marriage. Then Gratiano, we'll play with them the first boy for 1,000 ducats. Nerissa, what, and stake down? Gratiano, no, we shall never win at that sport. And stake down. But who comes here? Lorenzo and his infidel. What, and my old Venetian friend Salario. So, continuing Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Lorenzo, Jessica, and Salario, a messenger from Venice. Bassanio, Lorenzo and Salario, welcome hither. If that the youth of my new interest here have power to bid you welcome. By your leave, I bid my very friends and countrymen, sweet Portia, welcome. Portia, so do I, my lord. They are entirely welcome. Lorenzo, I thank your honor. For my part, my lord, my purpose was not to have seen you here, but meeting with Salario by the way, he did entreat me past all saying nay, to come with him along. Salario says, I did, my lord, and I have reason for it. Signor Antonio commends him to you. Gives Bassanio a letter. Bassanio, here I hope his letter. I pray you tell me how my good friend doth. Then Salario says, not sick, my lord, unless it be in mind, nor well, unless in mind his letter there will show you his estate. Gratiano, Nerissa, cheer, young stranger, bid her welcome. Your hand, Salario, what's the news from Venice? How doth that royal merchant, good Antonio? I know he will be glad of our success. We are the Jasons, we have won the fleece. Then Salario says, I would you had won the fleece that the hath lost. Continuing Act 3, Scene 2, which is a very big act, which is a very big scene from Act 3. Portia, there are some shrewd contents in young same paper that steals the color from Bassanio's cheek. Some dear friend dead, else nothing in the world, could turn so much the constitution of any constant man. What worse and worse, with leave, Bassanio, I am half yourself, and I must freely have the half of anything that the same paper brings you. Bassanio, oh sweet Portia, here are a few of the unpleasant words that ever blotted paper, gentle lady. When I did first impart my love to you, I freely told you all the wealth I had ran in my veins. I was a gentleman. And then I told you true, and yet, dear lady, rating myself at nothing, you shall see how much I was a braggart. When I told you my state was nothing, I should then have told you that I was worse than nothing, for indeed I have engaged myself to a dear friend, engaged my friend to his mere enemy. To feed my means, here is a letter, lady, the paper as the body of my friend, and every word in it a gaping wound, issuing life blood. But is it true, Salario? Have all his ventures failed? What? Not one hit from Tripolis, from Mexico and England, from Lisbon, Barbary, and India. And not one vessel escaped the dreadful touch of merchant marring rocks. Salario. Not one, my lord. Besides, it should appear that if he had the present money to discharge the Jew, he would not take it. Never did I know a creature that did bear the shape of man So keen and greedy to confound a man. So keen and greedy to confound a man. He plies the Duke at morning and at night, and doth impeach the freedom of the state. If they deny him justice, 20 merchants, the Duke himself and the magnificos of greatest port have all persuaded with him, but none can drive him from the envious plea of forfeiture of justice and his bond. Then Jessica says, when I was with him, I have heard him swear to Tubal and to Cus, his countrymen, that he would rather have Antonio's flesh than 20 times the value of the sum that he did owe him. And I know, my lord, if law, authority, and power deny not, I will go hard with poor Antonio. So Jessica says she got to know that if at all Antonio fails to repay back the loan amount of 3,000 ducats which he has borrowed on behalf of Bassanio, then definitely he has to give a pound of flesh according to her father's bond or contract, that he has to give a pound of flesh from his body. So even he is not ready to take up even that 20 times the value of the sum what he owed. Portia, is it your dear friend that is thus in trouble? Then Bassanio, so Portia is asking, is it your friend Antonio who is in trouble? Bassanio, the dearest friend to me, the kindest man, the best conditioned and unweird spirit in doing courtesies, and one in whom the ancient Roman honor more appears than any that draws breath in Italy. So he praises his friend Bassanio. Portia, what sum owes he the Jews? He asked, what sum owes he the Jew? Bassanio, for me 3,000 ducats. So Bassanio says he has taken 3,000 ducats from the Shylock. Portia, what? No more. Pay him 6,000, deface the bond. She says, okay, fine. Give him 6,000, 3 times, 2 times. She says, pay him 6,000, 2 times the amount, 3,000 ducats, what he has borrowed, and deface the bond. So that you can nullify the bond. But double 6,000 and then treble that. Before a friend of this description shall lose a hair through Bassanio's fault, first go with me to church and call me wife, and then away to Venice to your friend, for never shall you lie by Portia's side. With an uniquate soul, you shall have gold to pay the petty debt 20 times over. When it is paid, bring your true friend along. My maid Nerissa and myself, meantime, will live as maids and widows. Come away, for you shall hence upon your wedding day. Bid your friends welcome and show a merry cheer, since you are dear bought, I will love you dear. But let me hear the letter of your friend. Then Bassanio reads, sweet Bassanio, my ships have all miscarried, my creditors grow cruel, my estate is very low, my bond to the Jew is forfeit, and since in paying it, it is impossible I should live, all debts are cleared between you and I. If I might but see you at my death, notwithstanding, use your pleasure, if your love do not persuade you to come, let not my letter. So this is what the letter what Bassanio reads from Antonius. Then Portia, oh love, dispatch all business and be gone. Bassanio, since I have your good leave to go away, will make haste, but till I come again, no bed shall ever be guilty of my stay, no rest be interposer twixt us twain, exeunt. So that was a very big conversation happening in Act 3, Scene 2 of the play, The Merchant of Venice. So what is the summary of this whole Act 3, Scene 2 of the play Merchant of Venice then? In Belmont, Portia begs Bassanio to delay before making his choice among the caskets. So I told you, now Bassanio has arrived at Belmont to try his luck, fortune, by selecting the right casket. That is, he's been there for the casket contest. So in Belmont, Portia begs Bassanio to delay before making his choice among the caskets, because she loves Bassanio and she does not want Bassanio to make a mistake. If he chooses incorrectly, she will lose the pleasure of his company. So by mistake, if at all he chooses the wrong casket which does not contain the portrait of Portia, then she will lose the pleasure of his company. Though she refuses to break the terms of her father's riddle of the casket, she confesses that if it were up to her, she would give herself to him entirely. So even she says, though she refuses to break the terms of her father's riddle of the casket, she confesses that if it were up to her, she would give herself to him entirely. Bassanio, though is tortured by the uncertainty of waiting, and convinces her to let him try the riddle. So even Bassanio is also, is very much um, uh, unpleasant, because he says that what if I don't select the correct casket. So Bassanio, though is tortured by the uncertainty of waiting, and convinces her to let him try the riddle. Portrait Portia instructs that music should be played so that if Bassanio chooses incorrectly, he will at least make a swan like end. So Portia instructs that music should be played so that if Bassanio chooses incorrectly, he will at least make a swan like end. The song commences. So what was the song? Tell me where is fancy bred, or in the heart or in the head. Bassanio stands before the caskets, debating his choice for some time. First he rejects gold, hard food for Midas, I will none of thee. Then silver, pale and common drudge between man and man. Finally, Bassanio chooses lead. So the song commences, tell me where is fancy bread, or in the heart or in the head. Bassanio stands before the caskets, debating his choice for some time. First he rejects gold, hard food for Midas, I will none of thee, then silver, pale and common drudge between man and man. Finally, Bassanio chooses lead. Bassanio opens the lead casket. Inside, he finds a painting of Portia and a poem praising the wisdom of his choice. So, luckily, Bassanio was lucky enough to choose the correct casket, that is the lead casket, which contained the portrait of Portia. So, when he opened the lead casket, inside he finds a painting of Portia and a poem praising the wisdom of his choice. Bassanio turns to Portia, insisting that he must also have her consent if they are to marry. So he says, okay, fine, I have found the portrait of Portia in the casket, but insisting that he must also have her consent if they are to marry. Portia reassures him, myself and what is mine to you and yours. He is now converted. So she says, yes, I am ready to marry you. As a symbol confirming her love, she gives him a ring with which he must promise never to part. So, as a symbol of love, as a symbol confirming her love, she gives him a ring. So, this particular part is very important, because in the trial scene, when Portia, disguised as man of law, wins the case for Antonio and saves Antonio from the clutches of Shylock, and she asks for a ring from Bassanio as a mark of respect, as a mark of gratitude. So, as a symbol confirming her love, she gives him a ring with which he must promise never to part. Bassanio is almost too happy to speak. Only my blood, he tells her, speaks to you in my veins. Nerissa and Gratiano, who have been watching, express their joy. Gratiano, seizing the moment, asks Bassanio for permission to marry, confessing that he has already fallen in love with Nerissa. At the same time, Gratiano, who is a friend of Bassanio, is also in love with Nerissa, the maid of Portia. So he tells to Bassanio, Gratiano, seizing the moment, asks Bassanio for permission to marry, confessing that he has already fallen in love with Nerissa. Nerissa confirms that she loves Gratiano as well. Bassanio declares that the four of them will share a wedding. So now Bassanio and Portia, as well Gratiano and Nerissa, will share the wedding. See how happy they are then. Lorenzo and Jessica enter with Salario at that time. Bassanio and Portia welcome them. Salario explains that he is carrying a letter from Antonio for Bassanio. Gratiano and Nerissa continue to flirt and joke cluelessly as Bassanio begins reading. So Lorenzo and Jessica enter with Salario. Bassanio and Portia welcome them. Salario explains that he is carrying a letter from Antonio for Bassanio. Gratiano and Nerissa continue to flirt and joke clueless as Bassanio begins reading. Bassanio gets increasingly upset as he reads the letter, because Antonio is a very close friend of Bassanio, and he feels upset while he's reading the letter. He tells Portia about the money he allowed Antonio to borrow from Shylock and of Antonio's lost ship. So he tells all the story to Portia, that about the money he borrowed from as Antonio as a guarantor, and all that, and how Antonio has lost his ships. Salario curses Shylock's brutality. Never did I know a creature that did bear the shape of man so keen and greedy to confound a man, and comments that Shylock has been begging the Duke to give him justice. Jessica pipes in that when she was with her father, she heard him say that he would rather have Antonio's flesh than 20 times the value of the sum that he would owe them. All agree that unless law, authority, and power can find a way to deny Shylock his vengeful desire, Antonio is in trouble. Portia asks Bassanio whether Antonio is a dear friend. When Bassanio affirms that he is, Portia offers to pay 3,000 ducats that he owes 20 times over. She then asks to see the letter. Bassanio reads the text aloud. In it, Antonio confesses to that there is no chance that he will survive Shylock's extracting of the pound of the flesh. So, in the letter, Antonio would have written that he has failed to repay back the loan amount of 3,000 ducats. So, Antonio confesses that there is no chance that he will survive Shylock's extraction of the pound of flesh. However, Antonio tells that all debts between himself and Bassanio are cleared. So, because Bassanio is a prodigal son, every now and then he was borrowing money from Antonio and used to spend lavishly. So, he says whatever money, whatever all the debts between himself and Bassanio are cleared. He has only one request to see Bassanio before he dies. So, Antonio would have written in the letter that before he dies, he wanted to see Bassanio. Bassanio hastily prepares to depart. So, now he hastily prepares to depart. Hope you all have understood this big Act 3, Scene 2 of the wonderful play that is The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. So, in the coming session, I'll be explaining about Act 3, Scene 3, that is a street in Venice, as well the summary. Hope you all have understood this Act 3, Scene 2 of this wonderful play, The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. This Act 3, Scene 2 is very big and it is very important from examination of point of view, because it is in this scene that Bassanio is selecting the right casket, or that is the lead casket, where he finds the portrait of Portia and is able to marry Portia. So all that, and also gets to know about and Antonio's losses, all that is there in this particular Act 3, Scene 2. Hope you all have understood this very important Act 3, Scene 2. Thank you.